Du skal lade.
Hvad? Er du i gang, eller hvad? Nej. Du skal bare hakke det.
Welcome back to Simple Sourdough. Today we are going to make a sourdough cardamom swirl. And this is something that has been very popular in Scandinavia these days. It has caused long queues outside the sourdough bakeries. And today we are going to create a hybrid version, which is quite easy to make at home. You can also make this completely on sourdough, but today we are going to use a bit of yeast. If you are new to this channel, please like and subscribe to help us out on our journey and to help us create more content here on the YouTube channel. What you see here is our cardamom pods. These are a whole, and inside you can see we have the small cardamom. And that's what you buy if you buy it without the shells, and you can buy them when they're crushed as well. These are organic, which means we can blend or crush the whole thing. And the green part of the cardamom has a really fantastic taste and a lot of aroma. It gives a nice acidity to the cardamom swirl. So today we are going to use the whole thing. If you haven't got a really nice blender at home, you can use one of these and just crush them as well as you can. But I'm going to blend it this time around. And it looks like this. Okay. This is what you're looking for. If you want, you can use a sift and take away some of these shells, but this will work just fine. And it smells amazing. This is such a powerful aroma from these cardamoms. So now we are ready with the cardamom. I'm going to explain the recipe first. Over here we got 100 grams of spelt. The spelt will give us some elasticity later on in the dough when we're going to shape the swirls. Here we got some wheat flour. This is cake flour with only 10 grams of protein. So this is what you want to use just when you are making cake. We got 15 grams of salt, 100 grams of sugar, 10 grams of cardamom, 25 grams of fresh yeast, 1 whole egg, 500 grams of whole milk, and we are going to use 60 grams of sourdough. If you would cut out the yeast, then you can use 160 grams of sourdough, and that will work as well. We also have 100 grams of butter because we are making this recipe the same way you are making any kind of brioche. So that means we are going to add the butter as the last ingredient in our mix. So let's get started. So just as always, we are going to start with our wet ingredients first. So 500 grams of whole milk, 60 grams of sourdough, and the sourdough here is at its peak. It's floating on top of my milk. I'm adding my egg, and then I'm going to add my yeast. Now I just want to mix up the wet ingredients. Adding my salt, sugar, fresh cardamom, spelt, and cake flour. One important thing when you're mixing this, you don't want to mix it for too long, because then you will make the dough too strong, and then you will have a hard time rolling them out towards the end. So as the dough starts coming together, I will start adding my butter, and I have cut this in small cubes, so it's easier to just dissolve into the dough. So here towards the end, I'm just slowly adding the last bit of butter. Until it's fully incorporated. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how the dough should look like. It smells amazing with all this cardamom. So now we have a dough that's not too strong, but it still has a bit of strength. So this is perfect. Just going to use my plastic card to get the last bit out. So what I want to do now I'm just going to let my dough rest a bit. You can transfer this to another bowl, or you can just leave it in your mixer or on your table. I'm just going to leave it on the table for half an hour. I'm going to cover it with a blanket, and then I will get back to it and start shaping up. Here is how we make the syrup that we put on top of our cardamom swirls. 100 grams of water and 100 grams of sugar. Here we have 4 whole star anise and 8 cardamom pods. Just going to let this simmer and reduce for around 15 minutes until it's a syrup. And I'll just do this on a medium heat. Now the syrup is ready, and we're just going to leave it here. It has to be nice and liquidy. So if we just leave it here while it's still hot, it will take out some more flavor from the star anise and the cardamom. Okay, so now I'm joined by my fellow sourdough baker, Sophie. And Sophie, what do we need to do to make this cardamom swirl extra great and extra perfect?
Well, of course we need the butter and the sugar to make it more greasy, to make this Remonce inside the buns. Yeah? And this is 100 grams of salted tempered butter and pure sugar and 10 grams of freshly grinded cardamom.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So can you show people how to make this?
Sure.
Cool.
Pretty easy. So now the butter and the sugar and the cardamom has been incorporated together and looks fine, smells amazing. So if you want to do this the day before, it's totally fine. The taste will only get better if you do that.
So our dough has rested, and now it should be strong enough for us to roll out on the table. You can see it has some strength now. So just going to add thin layer of flour and on the dough. Just helping it out a bit. Now I want to use a rolling pin. This one is great as well if you're making croissant and other pastry. So I want to make a rectangular shape. So I'm going to roll it as flat as I can this way, and then I will turn it, and then I want to stretch it because we're going to fold this dough later on. And as you can see, the gluten wants to pull back the dough. So if you have a problem rolling out the dough at this point, then you might want to just roll it out and wait a bit to let the gluten relax, because then it's way easier for you to keep on rolling it after that. But I'm pretty satisfied with this one. Okay, so now I'm going to call in my lovely assistant, and she will put on the Remonce. Does this look right?
It's okay.
It's okay? Great. Okay. Okay, so Sophie, you have to tell us what you are going to do now.
Just this the whole way, thin layer all the way around.
You can use this.
Yeah. This is the good friend.
So you are covering the whole
I'm covering
inside.
the whole dough with the butter and sugar mix.
Yeah. So this is kind of when the same thing as if you are making pizza snails. We make that a lot here in Denmark. It's a very classic thing in all bakeries.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to hold the camera so you can show the next move.
Yep. So now the dough is covered in Remonce here, and we want to laminate a bit, so the dough will get 3 layers of butter, and looks like this. We're flipping the butter 1/3 up, like this, and the upper third is flipped back here, like this.
So 3 layers of butter. So the dough has rested a little bit, and now we are ready to swirl. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay, let's try. So we are stretching it a bit. And now, because the dough has rested, it's a bit more elastic. You can make this dough and just leave it to rest in the fridge and just take it out and swirl it the day after as well. That will work too. I think today we're going to bake it so we can taste it. Sometimes we we make the swirls and we just let them rest after they are swirled as well. Okay, so Sophie, maybe we should just take the camera over here so people can see how we are doing this. Just going to show. So first I stretch it a bit and then I roll it. Some people prefer to just roll with one hand. I'm using both. Then I'm picking it up, swirling it. I have a pistol grip. Then I'm just swirling it around this way. So now I want to tuck this one inside and tuck it underneath the bottom. And then we have a nice tall cardamom swirl. Going to show one more. Pistol grip over here. Tucking it in. So now the swirls are shaped. We are leaving them to rest for 45 minutes, covered. Now we have waited 45 minutes, and normally we would proof these cold proof overnight and bake them the next day, because then we activate the sourdough a lot more and then we get much deeper flavor and much more umami on the cardamom swirls. But this is the quick way to do it with the 25 grams of yeast. Then you can make them on the same day. Over here we got our oven that has been preheating while these have been proofing. It's set to 180 degrees Celsius, which equals around 365 Fahrenheit. It's on running on fan. So I'm just going to put in my swirls in the middle of the oven. And I'm going to leave the oven on, and these will bake for around 9 to 10 minutes. This is the most important thing about making a great cardamom swirl. You have to bake them so they are still very soft inside, almost a bit underbaked. That's the secret behind a great cardamom swirl. So let's set a timer and then we check back in 9 minutes. Okay, so they have baked for 9 minutes, and now, let's see. Oh, it smells very much like lemon from the cardamom.
Smells good, very intense.
Citrus. Because here we have the syrup that we made. So we're just going to put a bit of syrup while they're still hot. And if you are going to sell these in your bakery, you can use a brush, or if you're making these at home, because that will encapsulate some of the, well, it will keep them more moist for a longer time. And also this one has a very intense taste, so that's like the finishing touch to the swirl. Just going to add a bit here. Normally we would use a brush, but we forgot to bring one today. So, should we try to open one? Look at the bottom. This is what people also really like when it's completely caramelized like this. Okay, should we try to break one?
Yeah.
And see? Oh, looks great. So what you want to see is this almost dough-like center. Is it good? It's hot.
Very hot. Good.
Okay, so this was the end for Cardamom Swirls. This was the hybrid version with a bit of yeast. You can easily try this with just sourdough. That's how we make it in the bakery. We wanted to make them on this day so we can show you guys how it's done. And yeah.
So if you like this video, please like and subscribe below, or follow us on Instagram on Simple Sourdough. See you next time.